how can we think about, rather than every time we make or use something, people or the planet pays the price, how can we flip that so that every time we make, use something, people, the environment actually gets better?
Hi there. Welcome to the Circumcenter, a series of stimulating dialogues on the circular economy. Today's topic is circular design as a systemic solution, a tool for change and a path to a better future. In 2005, Ellen Macarthur spent 71 days alone at sea, circling the globe with limited supplies. But she returned with fresh insights into the way the world works. She realized that the solution to our biggest problems don't simply lie in how we produce energy, but also in how we use materials.
If we could build an economy that would use things rather than use them up, we could build a future that really could work in the long term.
Since its foundation, the Ellen Macarthur Foundation has become synonymous with the circular economy. They know that systemic change requires a holistic approach. Therefore, they work on different scales, from engaging huge conglomerates to mobilizing governments, from advocating in the farming industry to creating a circular design guide. Meet Joe Iles, the circular design program lead at the foundation. He tells us how we can start circularity from the design phase and why designers play a crucial role in transforming the take, make, waste system. Let's hear from Joe about how the foundation creates a large-scale impact through its systemic initiatives. Hi Joe, welcome to the Circumcenter. Let me start with my first question, which is, when you think about your past, what was the most significant event in your life that made you who you are today?
I think the moment that comes to mind is when I decided to study history at university. So up to that point, when I was doing some studies and exams at school, I thought I wanted to be a lawyer. I'd done some early reading and exams in law. I had an amazing history teacher called Paul Thatcher, who really inspired me. We did a project where we could choose any subject in the world in history to study, and I chose Chinese maritime exploration. And there was a specific moment where we were in the library at King's College in London, and I was surrounded by the books, and I was choosing what I wanted to study. I was guided by curiosity and passion, and I thought, this is what I want to be doing. This is what I feel like I'm good at. This is how I want to spend my time. And it was that moment where I chose to study history, even not really having a sense of what job that would have entitled me to do, but just knowing that it was enriching and fulfilling. And ultimately, history is about the story of change. It's a story of grand and sometimes small change over long periods of time at a global perspective. And that really was I didn't really know it at the time, but that was a really important step before I started work on the circular economy at the Ellen Macarthur Foundation.
Did you have a perspective shift since you began working on the circular economy and design?
I've definitely had a perspective shift, because you might say that that's sort of starting from zero. I was probably, before I joined the foundation, started looking at circular economy and design. I was probably one of those people who didn't really think much about the way that our world works as it relates to things like resources, energy, the environment, and economics. There are certain trends and circumstances which sounded scary, like climate change, biodiversity loss, pollution, abundant waste. But I felt like there were some smart people in the world who were going to do something about it. And these efforts of using a bit less, taking a shorter shower, turning our TV off when we're not using it, recycling a bit more, I thought that they were largely going to be okay. I think the perspective shift is that what we really need is a whole systems change. The linear economy, the way that our entire world works, our built world, is based on this idea of take, make and waste, and not worrying about the inconvenient truths of that model. Whilst we have that model in place, we really don't have an economy that's fit for the long term. So that's the perspective shift, is that we need a whole systems change. Yes, behaviour change is important, but it won't alone be sufficient to get us to a model that is circular and regenerative.
Which Ellen Macarthur project most impacted you personally?
Well, there have been many projects that have impacted me, but one that maybe gets to the sort of root cause of how it's impacted me personally is a project from those early days. It might have actually been happening as I joined the Ellen Macarthur Foundation. I wasn't really closely involved in it, but it was an educational project. A lot of our early work and much of our work today, it was around learning and education. And we were working with teachers to test educational resources with school students. One of the resources that was being tested in a school in Yorkshire, and it was for design and technology students. And one student said that when he was doing his design studies, his design exams for his GCSEs, so his exams when he was about 15 or 16, he couldn't think of anything to design because everything around him had been designed already. He realized that when he learnt about the circular economy, everything he saw, he wanted to redesign. That for me is why I still work on this challenge. It's that once you lift back the veil of that surrounds us, and you reveal that the world works in this linear way, you see that everything around us is ripe for disruption. You could take any of those products, buildings, phones, food, clothes, and think, how should that work in a circular economy? So in terms of the creative and innovation opportunity of a circular economy, it's that project, that way that the circular economy can inspire someone who's 16, 17 years old. That had a huge impact on me back in 2011, and it still impacts me today when I tell that story.
Let's go into the second circle and talk about the industry and the professional space. My question is, what are the ongoing projects at the Ellen Macarthur Foundation about the circular economy?
One thing I haven't really mentioned is our initiatives. We call these systemic initiatives. These are where we've taken a complex supply chain, a complex material stream, and where there's been very little progress in shifting that, and we're trying to create the conditions for systems change. And those four main areas in which we're active are plastics, fashion, food, and finance. And for each of those industries, there's a slightly different recipe for systems change. But if I take something like plastics, we created some insights to outline the scale of the problem. So you may have heard this statistic that if we do nothing, there could be more plastics than fish in the ocean by 2050. So we spent some time outlining the scale of the problem, but have really quickly tried to move to solutions. So we try and stimulate designers and creatives around those areas. And then at the big picture, we created something called the Global Commitment, which has around about 20% of the packaging market have signed up to that commitment to shift the way that they make and use packaging. And they publicly disclose their packaging volumes and their progress really against things like recycled content and reuse and compostability. So with things like that, and we're doing similar activities in fashion and food, we're targeting different parts of the system to try and get it to shift.
What inspired you to start a circular economy program that aims to produce value within the intersection of business and design?
When we started building out and promoting the idea of a circular economy, we always said that it was about creating an economy that was regenerative by design. And that came somewhat from intuition, but the idea behind that was that this wasn't about treating the symptoms of a dysfunctional economy, about accepting that our economy is take, make, waste, and we need to get better at cleaning up and addressing the problem. Design approach was about going to the root cause. So we always knew that we wanted to, by intention, stimulate the creation of products, services, and systems that were circular by design. Rather than treating the circular economy as some sort of bolt-on to the current dysfunctional linear model. So it's always been about design. And then to build on that, everything around us is designed. Those design decisions, once they're made, they're pretty hard to reverse, sometimes impossible. We know that a lot of people influence design. Some of them call themselves designers, and they've been to design school, and those people are really good at this. They may not even know it yet, But even the people that don't call themselves designers, the material scientists, the architects, the people involved in business model innovation, the engineers, those people influence how things work as well. So we take a pretty broad view of what design is, a broad view of who is a designer, who influences materials flows. And our program, the Circular Design Program, is aimed at inspiring and equipping those designers and creative professionals to turn their talents and skills and passions, many of which they already have in them, towards circular economy outcomes.
Then what is the role of designers in enabling a circular economy?
Well, designers can do a number of things. They can help understand the system through using design research, through using empathy, this word we hear so much in design. They can help visualize and understand the wider system in which an organization sits, in which a customer or a citizen sits, in which a product sits. They're good at helping illustrate that. Designers can also really help envision an alternate future. So they can help people visualize a business model or a type of product or an interaction that is different and compelling compared with today's linear model. In between the current state and that future state, they can do loads of other things. They can create the conditions for people to collaborate or work in new ways. They can prototype things. They can create experiences that enable people to touch or feel what that different future might actually look like. They can also take technologies or practices that are quite fringe, that are quite unfamiliar, and help make them work. Fundamentally, with these, there are a lot of new behaviours involved in the circular economy. So designers can use their creativity, all the skills that they've developed and learnt. They can help make circular economy innovation actually work.
Ellen Macarthur Foundation published a circular design guide in partnership with IDEO, a world-famous design studio. What value does this design guide provide for designers and business decision makers?
The circular design guide really offers a starting point. It's a free guide comprising 24 methods that give designers an entry point into some of the types of thinking and doing that they'll need to practice circular economy innovation. So there's things in there like system mapping, understanding the wider system. It's not a comprehensive guide. I don't necessarily think if you go through every session you'll be the perfect circular designer, but it can offer an entry point to this world which can really be challenging. I think a lot of designers that I speak to, they really want to be part of this, but they face many different pressures that could be around internal buy-in and understanding. It could be around their own knowledge. It could be around a sense of sort of paralysis about getting it wrong. And we need to really get away from that. Even though the circular economy is about a systems change doesn't happen overnight. By its nature, it has to happen incrementally, which can also be kind of paralyzing. People are worried about getting it wrong. So it's pretty difficult for a designer in a large corporate to pick up something radically new and just start using it. There needs to be an organization-wide understanding that this is an innovation journey, an innovation mission. It's going to take a while. It's going to take a lot of understanding the system, a lot of vision setting, a lot of prototyping. And that cycle will continue as long as this transformation takes, which will be a long time. Hopefully the Circular Design Guide helps people get started, but gives them the inspiration and unlocks enough of the sense of possibility with circular economy to encourage them to keep going, because it won't happen straight away. We need to deal with a lot of mess and ambiguity as we transition from linear to circular. And hopefully the Circular Design Guide is one of the tools that can help people on that journey.
Storytelling is an essential tool for raising awareness and behavior change. So where does Ellen Macarthur Foundation's success in storytelling come from?
I think when it comes to storytelling is optimism. Obviously, we need to shout about the problems that are all around us. What the foundation has tried to do is tap into sort of the other side of that coin, that there is a societal yearning for something better. There's a desire to escape the frustrations of the present and escape that trajectory where we all just need to sort of stay in our homes and minimize our impact. And it's that focus on the solutions rather than just the problem that I think is captivating people. It gives them a sense they can do something. This is not the time to do nothing. This is the time to actually innovate and do something.
And we have finalized the industry circle and moving into the third and final circle, which is going to focus on the future. My question is, what is waiting for us about circular design in the near future?
Trends and forces that shape our economy are increasingly coming together to, and again, I'm an idealist, so this comes from a place of real hope, to get us to the point where circular design is the new normal. When we award the best design products in the media, when we read about design, when we see it on television, that the principles of a circular economy are embedded, and ultimately it would be great if we didn't really need to talk about it because it was taken as standard. And once the pioneers step out in front, I think there will be an increasing likelihood that others will as well. And the power of design is increasingly appreciated. Those designers will find themselves in increasing positions of seniority and decision-making positions, and they'll be able to exert their influence as well. And I hope will be the new leaders in this transition.
As a professional with years of experience in this field, what would you first advise brands and businesses who want to transform towards a circular economy?
I think if I was advising brands and businesses in this transformation, encourage them to, how can we think about, rather than every time we make or use something, people or the planet pays the price, how can we flip that so that every time we make, use something, or us as customers, we buy something, nature, people, the environment actually gets better. That's a complete 180 on everything we think we know about the way that our economy works and how we think about economic development. That requires looking inwards, it requires looking outwards at the system, questioning how you create value, and then something quite specific I would tell businesses to do, which comes from my sort of personal role. Empower your design teams. Give them the mandate to envision and create a more circular economy for your organization, for your industry. I believe that your design teams, working with their many talented colleagues, can really do it. But what's the first line of their design brief? The first line of their design brief for everything they create should be, this needs to be circular and regenerative. It needs to eliminate waste and pollution, circulate products and materials, and regenerate nature. That should be at the top of every design brief. Everything else is a nice addition, but fundamentally that needs to be the new headline.
Joe, thank you very much for your time today. It was very inspiring for us to listen to how design plays a crucial role in enabling a circular economy.
Thank you. No, I enjoyed it. It was a very fun and enriching chat.
Thank you for watching. We hope this conversation inspired you to start your circularity journey today. So please subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit the bell button not to miss the future dialogues with passionate leaders in the circular economy. If you enjoyed this conversation, you could listen to the whole interview on Spotify or Apple Podcasts from the link below. See you at the next Circumcenter episode, discovering the center of your decisions.